Hi guys, Ready Set RC, back again today, and today we have the Losi Mini 8 DB final thoughts, and we're gonna do a slight upgrade to this. So as you guys can see here, we have all these parts out here, and I'll list these in the description as well. But I want to do a final thoughts on this RC. I think it's well overdue at this point. So let's go over the parts that we have in front of us here. And for those of you that are not aware of the big crash I had with this, it was off camera. It was during the last run that I had, and I posted up on YouTube a while back. Was driving this at my local park, took a turn a little bit too wide, and I smashed the A-arm, the carrier, and the spindle on the front side, along with smashing up the body over here too. This is minor. I did order up another body. I'll probably run it like this until I figure out a paint scheme that I want to run. Just wanted to show you some of the other things that we got for it. As we said, I also decided to go with the rear hub set on this as well to replace that, since we're going to be tackling the front. As I was telling you guys too, we are definitely going to change out the front carrier set on here, and everything that we're changing to at this point, we're going aluminum. I know for a fact, because I have the Losi 8, just strengthening up the carriers, the spindles on the front end, and also the hubs on the front end, it definitely gives this a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more support in regards to the vehicle. So since I've done these kind of changes already on my Losi Mini 8, I figured I'll do this on the DB, especially since I'm already addressing one part of it already. I figured I'll just address everything too at the same time. Also addressing, as I said before, the spindle set for the front. During that process, and I don't know if you guys have gone through this before as well, we also lost the dog bones for the front as well. So we'll be putting on a new set of dog bones on here too. And to go with a little bit more of the strengthening on all of this, we decided to go with RPM arms on the front and on the rear. So we're going with RPMs on the front and the rear on this kit. When we do the final thoughts of this kit, I'll go through talking about the tires that we went through. I got some of the other tires that we went through in testing this vehicle, and the final set that we ended up going with at the end. We'll discuss that when we do the final overview of the kit. But so guys, we have the new parts on. We have it here set for you guys to check out. As I said, we've replaced the dog bones on here because one of the dog bones was lost. Actually, while we were doing the repair, I noticed that the dog bones on the rear were actually bent, and I'll show you one of the dog bones right here. Hopefully that's coming up good on the camera, but you may see it slightly bent. And because of that, we swapped out the dog bones on the rear. Also, we replaced the spindle set in the front, as we spoke about before. We also replaced the A-arms front and rear, and we replaced the rear hubs on this. All those parts that we replaced are now metal, except for the A-arms front and rear. Those are RPM A-arms that were replaced, the original stock A-arms on here. It just seems a little bit more beefy, guys. And I'll show you what the A-arms look like before. Once you take them off and you put them in your hands, the parts just seem to look and feel very brittle. And when I crashed this RC, it was approximately, in the 40s, which is definitely that type of temperature where it's breakable. But I feel the RPM arms are just going to give us a little bit more support going forward. As I said before, I've made these same changes on my Losi Mini 8, and that thing is by far as close to bulletproof as I want it to be for a 1/14 scale RC. I don't think I want to throw that much money into it before it gets to the point where I think I've lost value in this in an RC. So I definitely feel that the changes that I've made on this is about as far as I want to go for right now. I'll see where it takes me, but for this RC and the amount of time that I foresee myself really using this, this is about as much as I want to go into it. Replacing the parts is very easy. I would say approximately maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour it takes to do all this work. So at this point, guys, let's get into the review of this kit. So as you guys know, this is the Losi Mini 8DB. It is a 1/14 scale RC. We already went through, during the unboxing, the entire discussion of the motor, the ESC, the servo that's in here, the way that it's set up, the size and everything. So I won't go into that too far, because if you guys would like, you should go back and review my unboxing video, which basically talks about all of that going forward. But for those of you who are not familiar with the Mini 8DB, this is basically the wheelbase of the Losi Mini 8T with the width of the Losi Mini 8. So it's kind of mixing the two worlds together between the Losi Mini 8T and the Losi Mini 8. As for tires, and this is probably where I will focus some of the majority of the review time on, because I went through 3 sets of tires just to try to find the perfect mix for me. The original set of tires, I will have to say, I wasn't a fan of these. You know, I like to run my RCs mainly on grass, not tall grass, but a decent height. And these just were not giving me the grip I was looking for. The RC would just basically sit there, get sunk, and would not grip on the grass at all with these. On gravelly surfaces, I just found that even with the shock adjustments, the RC would just kind of do a jumping action in the back. Just didn't feel like it was giving me the stability that I wanted on this kit. I then went up to the Armor D-Boot tires, and these are the fronts of the Armor Raider. I had these from the first, I guess, the Gen 1 Armor Raider, and these I ended up purchasing it. This one's that you can see here, but if you look at the first set that I have, these are actually right off of my Gen 1 Armor Raider, and that's a 1/10 scale buggy. And by far, these were good. The only thing that I would say about them is that the tread pattern on here is a little too aggressive for what this RC does. Definitely, I did not have that problem with the jumping in the rear. It handled well, just a little bit too much traction roll was happening, and it would tend to flip a lot with these. And that wasn't because of the height of the RC. It was just a matter of the treads on here. The treads on here are just a little too aggressive for this kit. Lastly, we went with the Team Associated 1/10 scale buggy rims. And for the tires, I went with the Traxxas Anacondas. By far the best setup. I do not see the jumping around with these tires. The shock bodies had the same adjustments I did with the previous 2. Perfect. Excellent on grass, excellent on pavement, excellent on dirt. Had no issues at all with these tires. This is probably my go-tos when running this rig. Definitely would say, if you are going to own a Losi Mini 8DB, check into the Anacondas. So next, moving on to power. For this, I would say the power is a little underwhelming. I found that maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just that I'm used to my Mini 8, that I hopped up the motor, I hopped up the ESC, I also swapped out the servo. I didn't really have so much of a problem with the servo on here, but I found out that from driving this, it just feels a little underwhelming. The electronics in here do get a little warm, so I wouldn't go up in teeth. Probably the better bet is that you'd most likely want to swap out the electronics on this. I would not go up a few teeth on it, because as I said, I was already running a little warm in regards to electronics for this. As for the radio system on this, I will have to say it is by far one of the worst radio systems I have ever ran in a RTR kit. The range on this, I don't know if it was range or if it was just in the areas that I run. It is a highly populated area, but I've never had an issue with an RTR radio system, and this is not the typical DX2E or the DX2 active system that they currently are using. This is the STX system that they supplied in this, and it just did not seem to handle anything that I was able to put out to it. It would cut out, it would constantly lose signal, and then therefore what I ended up putting is putting my DX4R and my Spectrum receiver, the SR2000 receiver in here, and I have not had any issues with signals cutting out or anything like that. But I must say that the original radio system and receiver that comes with this is by far horrible. It is not anywhere what I expect to be in a Losi product. So next, I will move on to value, and this is probably where I will kind of just wrap this video up. Do I feel that this kit, for what you get and what you have to do to it to get it to the part where it is worth owning a good value? And I must say, in my heart to heart, comparing it to my Losi Mini 8, it is not. I just feel that for a 1/14 scale RC, you must do way too much to it to get to the point where it is just a fun RC to run. With the radio system that comes in here, with the very thin plastics that come on the A-arms, with the power that you're getting from the ESC and motor, I just do not feel that at this price point that there is ever any value to it, because by the time you're done, you're probably going to get this up to close to a $400 kit. And do I feel at $400 is a 1/14 scale RC worth it? I do not. I think this should stay somewhere in that maybe $350 all hopped up range. This is definitely something, by the time you're done with it, you would probably put about $400 into it just to get it to the way that you would like. And then you must also think about it when you're talking about a 1/14 scale RC. You're typically not going to get to run this in every location that you are able to run a 1/10 scale, or even a I won't even compare this to a 1/8 scale, but definitely to a 1/10 scale RC, where you're able to take that to a variety of locations. A 1/14 scale RC of this size, you're not going to really be able to get it to everywhere. And when you start talking about $400 to $450 in spending to get this hopped up to where you need it to be, I just don't think there's any value in it. So for me, I personally feel if I was to do this all over again, I probably would pass on this RC. I think I'm happy enough with my Losi Mini 8 that I wouldn't do it. Now, if you do not have any of the Losi Mini options, like the Losi Mini 8 or the Losi Mini 8T, by far, I feel that, you know, at that point, just to get the experience with the 1/14 scale, maybe that's something you'd want to do, is to get the Losi Mini 8 DB. But if you already own one of the Losi offerings, the Losi Mini 8T, the Losi Mini 8, I would pass on this vehicle. I would not buy the Losi Mini 8 DB. It is not worth it if you already own one of the other Losi Mini options. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to give you guys a quick final thoughts of where I am with this Losi Mini 8 DB. Definitely for now, it is going to stay in my collection. I want to really test it out and have some fun with the new mods that I've done on here. Just want to see how much more rigid it is with it. As I said, I've done these changes before to my Losi Mini 8, but I want to see how this RC is going to perform afterwards. So it's not the last time you're going to see it on the channel, but it's definitely the last time you'll see me do a review of this RC. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram for our latest posts to our channel. This is Ready Set RC, signing out. Thanks again, guys.